Amigos y amigas, another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show is starting right now. 1 hour of Mexican football. Thank you, everybody, to join us. If you're brand new to the show, welcome. Bienvenido. We're going to start right in. We don't waste any time. Well, at least not today. We're going to jump in with the big question of the night. And the question is, we'll go to Cesar first. What do you think about the mini camps Martino has scheduled for this week? First call-up, we're all looking at it, and we see it's all Liga MX players. The mini camp, Cesar, in San Diego, Tijuana area, covers Cholos and a lot. Welcome, buddy.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I mean, I like it. I mean, from a national team perspective, it makes sense why Tata would want to do this. You want to have some thorough analysis of not only just the senior national team players, Liga MX level, but also U22, the U20 level. So I like it. I like the fact that Liga MX teams are apparently pretty cool with this. Maybe it had something to do with him and that little PR little trip that he had visiting all those teams. Maybe that made things a little bit easier, but I'm a fan. I mean, ahead of the Gold Cup, it's understandable why he wants a thorough review of Mexico's top Liga MX talent. So I'm a big fan of that. So we'll see if he can get some more going forward in the future. But at the very least, he's got this one mini camp ahead of the friendlies.
Well, for those of you who don't know, Tata Martino called up some players up that are going to be there. Started yesterday and leave back on Wednesday. I think the Rayados players are leaving tomorrow. Some players are leaving earlier than others, and this is Tata's first call up. Tom, to you, makes sense. How do you feel about it? Is it not a story? I mean, I think maybe we're just a little bit glad that at least something's happening with L3. It's been a long time.
Yeah, no, it does feel like it's been a long time, and I think the November friendlies as well were just such a negative that it's good that it's I think it's really important. I mean, I think Martino's getting an early opportunity to work with these players. I think there's 2 players over the age of 30. I think both of them are goalkeepers, if I'm not mistaken. And 14 of the 24 names are 25 or under. So it's like it's clear what Martino's doing. This group of players is, being groomed for the next World Cup. It's also interesting that the under-22s are in camp this week and the under-20s. So I think Martino, this is almost like you got basically 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, to kind of have a look, not just to the first team, but have a look down, and on the pitch next to you, you've got the under-22s, the pitch next to you, got the under-20s. So I really do think that the federation is trying to create this kind of atmosphere, this kind of culture of, this is the path up, this is how we do it, this is where you guys want to get to. So yeah, no, really, really good. Very few teams, national teams or bigger national teams in the world would allow this. The leagues basically wouldn't allow it. So I think for Liga MX clubs to allow it, for me, it was a massive surprise, to be honest. I thought they'd never allow it. And secondly, it does show that at least there is some willingness to kind of, to bend to national team, not demands, but kind of wishes, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I mean, I think it's positive. We'll see how long it lasts. And this is my big kind of sticking point, is that
it's the honeymoon phase. That's what it is. It's the honeymoon phase right now.
All requests are granted for the national team when you first start out.
Yeah, I mean, on Sunday you've got the Clásico Capitalino, Pumas America. What happens if one of the America players gets injured? You've got on Saturday you've got the Clásico Tapatío, and I don't know. Once there's a couple of injuries, and then there's a big debate, and you know what I mean. That you can see why clubs would be reluctant, and I mean they basically can't prepare this week for those games. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, interesting stuff, and definitely good for the national team.
We're talking about the mini call-up from Tata Martino. Adriana just joining us right now. I'm sure driving in from the studios there in Mexico City. Making it. Thank you so much for making it. Adriana, to you, you saw the call-up. You saw the players. There was going to be a little mini camp. How did you feel about everything?
Well, as Tom was saying, I was kind of surprised that everyone was just so keen on interest. Like, just take out players. I mean, Chivas has 10 absences because of national team call-ups. Regarding the senior squad, the U22 squad, and the U20 squad. And they play against Atlas this weekend, which is not not a game that they want to lose, obviously. So I was kind of surprised that they were just so keen and interested in supporting the national team, since this has been an issue that has been going on for a while. And they're like, no, we just can't loan our players every time. What if they get injured? I think that I kind of regretted was the fact that they only let the media in 15 minutes today. I mean, it was the first practice, the first actual contact we have with Gerardo Martino, almost a month after he was presented, and they only let the media in 15 minutes, and they didn't even let some of them tweet out pictures of what they were doing. So I kind of said that wasn't the best start as far as I was concerned, because I mean even with Osorio, you could have like a bit longer. What?
The Mexican national team not being PR friendly. What's that all about?
It's even unfriendlier because like we're used to this kind of thing, but like at least you have like 20 minutes, half an hour access. I mean, I don't remember the last time they actually told reporters they couldn't tweet out videos. I mean, and they weren't doing anything. It wasn't like we're going to play the United States in a week or so. I mean, they were just like kicking the ball around.
Meanwhile, like
and
I
they
said,
were like, no, you can't do that. You can't know that. So I was like, this is not the start that I was expecting. I was just expecting a lot more access and just let them know how Martino is with the players and what kind of things he's correcting and what kind of things he's focusing on, seeing as though he only has like 2.5 days to get to know these players.
Meanwhile, like I said on the WhatsApp group, Las Vegas Lights they have open practice to the public. So if you live in Las Vegas and you don't have to report, or apparently you can just go up and just show up to any of those practices. So that was
they're making up for the Chili's tweet.
Ronaldo's a coach right now over there.
Yeah,
I think.
I unfollowed him after Chili's left.
I get the press releases.
It was with Martino coming in, the federation has now got a kind of director of image and communication, a specific post that didn't exist before the World Cup. And you would have thought that with that, then, that you would work on the PR. And I think, like Adriana said then, I mean, this is the first, this is your first training session, and it's not all about, because it's not all about necessarily the time, but it's stuff like, tweeting and stuff and taking photos. It's like, who cares? But,
accessibility.
Adriana, you were there?
Yeah, I'm here.
No, I said you were there at the practice?
I had a reporter that the first thing he said was, "Oh God, please don't retweet what I just sent out because they just told me I can't do that."
But I think it also showed the television stations with rights. I think after the World Cup, they weren't happy because other people were getting the interviews, other people were getting good stuff out, and I think they hated it, and now they're kind of doubling down. I don't think they're going to give hardly anything. I mean, if we thought it was bad before in terms of us guys getting access, I think it's going to be even worse now.
I hate to say it, but it wasn't as bad with Osorio.
No, it was bad in the U.S. I mean, if you came to any games in the U.S., I got reprimanded a couple times, yelled at by some people because I tweeted out, and especially Copa America. Those, I mean, if you remember all the tournament games, they were like taking their phones away when you were tweeting out, which is sad. It's like, what are we supposed to do? I know we don't have the rights to it, but we have pictures. And the thing is that everybody in the stadium is taking video and pictures, right? It's all over everywhere. And, I have there my camera in front, and here comes the police kind of going, you need to put that away.
No, it's ridiculous. I remember, I think it was Chile against Colombia in Chicago in the Copa America Centenario, and it was like there was a massive storm, and all the fans went down below into the what's it called?
Oh, like the bunkers,
and everyone
like
was
area.
They were all like singing and dancing, and they were going absolutely mad. And I was like taking videos and stuff, and they would have gone viral, and then you just can't do anything. But I think we're going to see. I think it's going to be a feature, and maybe it's not interesting for the general fan, but for when you're working in it, it's like. It's frustrating because I think the big TV or the Televisa and Azteca basically, and Univision, which is basically Televisa really. The way they've been swapping talent and stuff. But those guys now, let's not forget Fox and ESPN Disney has basically bought Fox. So in all of Latin America, Fox and ESPN are now the same. So you can imagine from kind of a Televisa or Azteca's point of view, they've got the rights for the national team, but you've not just got ESPN and Fox now. You've got I don't know what Fox are going to do, to be honest, but you've got this absolutely massive corporation, and obviously I'm part of it, but I'm just kind of like this little digital reporter doing my own thing in English, and they want to stop that as well. You know what I mean? They're very, I don't know. I think it's going to be a feature of the next couple of years with the national team.
Dun, dun, dun. Plenty to come, guys, here. I want to go to the chat here on the YouTube chat. Some questions that I asked, right? We have Mr. Eldan, the man from way down under, who listens to us and follows us, saying hi to you, sir. I think it's a great idea. I'm also happy it's 100% Liga MX roster. Great chance for some of those players to show what they can do. Mr. Louis, what do I think? I didn't even see this coming. I guess good for him and the team. Jose Villanueva, I agree with this method. By doing this, he's trying to improve chemistry among the squad that a day in the club, the environment thing club brings. Carlos Columna Navarro, it's a great idea. European-based players already have a spot, so these mini camps will be good internal competition with Liga MX players to get the spot with El Tri. Jose Villanueva, there's always something that people find something wrong. A shame, really. All this is for the same purpose, to take the national team to another level. I remember some mini camps back in the 2006.
Did it.
Yeah, La Volpe, 2006. Yeah, La Volpe did some mini backs, but right before the World Cup, he did a couple mini backs. And then back way in the day, in '86, I was trying to do some research, and I asked my dad about that. They did like they did like a 6-month camp, and it was too much. I think some of the players are like, all right, you don't want to get in there. So I think it's, for me on a personal, I think it's great that he's trying to see some of these players. Although Mexico has more games than anyone else in the world and plays more games than anybody else, I would think that he's able to see so many players because of that. But I think why not having the Liga MX players? We're gonna start seeing if they get in the way, right? If somebody gets injured, if some of the teams start lagging, because we've seen that relationship before. One team's not making it, or something's wrong, and they need their players, and they're gonna blame the national team, but at the same time, what are the advantages? Why would teams say yes? Well, the exposure, right? The exposure to players in the national teams brings exposures to their players, especially international. So we'll see where it goes. Interesting enough. I wonder, is he going to keep calling new players up for mini camps? Is this going to be it for the Gold Cup or for the upcoming games? It's gonna be a rotation, or this is kind of already the base that he wants to see. Do you guys know?
I don't think we all know. I don't even think he knows. But I think what would be more probable is that he calls up some players from Jaime Lozano's team, maybe just like to, I don't know, find more players, for like squad games or something like that. Because he did that today, actually. He had some of the U22 players join in his practice. So that was kind of odd, but I was happy to see that, because these are players that are obviously also trying to get a call up for the senior national team as well.
Yeah, like Tom said too, like there are only 2 players who are either 30 or above 30 on their current call-ups. And I think, you look at Mexico's current best players, and it's quite obvious that they're aging. They need to be transitioned out. I mean, not immediately, but just gradually, just when you're looking towards the next World Cup. So it's just him looking towards the next generation. So like Adriana said, I think, it's going to be not only these figures, but also some of those at the U22 level, which are, there's some decent names on that list as well that could be very good players in a year or two. So I think it's just, I think in general, these mini camps, or maybe we'll see what happens going forward, but it's just looking towards that next generation of talent, because gradually he needs to start incorporating those new faces, new names.
Tom, to you, you wrote a great article. Sorry, I was going to ask you. You wrote a great article about the age, Tata Martino, and how you have, I think, 24, 25. Do you think that was on purpose, or do we not have anybody around in the later years in Liga MX, on the later in their career?
No, yeah, of course. There's plenty of players that he could have brought in that could do a job. You know what I mean? I think week in, week out, we see, there's enough solid centre backs, that could be called up. But what's the point? What's the point in bringing in a player like Hugo Ayala right now, where he's 31 years old? We know
not even a starter anymore.
No, it's pointless. So he's definitely looking to the next World Cup. The other thing I'd say is that I think we'd probably all agree here that Mexico are at a disadvantage moving forward with the fact that so few players are moving to Europe. The younger players. I think we all agree, and other people disagree, which is fine. But that Mexico would be better served to have a lot more of these younger players debut in Liga MX, establish themselves, and go and try out in Europe. But it's not happening. we've seen it's not happening. We've seen so many players, younger players, moving within the league, and I think these camps they're a way of bridging that gap. They're a way of okay, our players aren't going to be in Europe, but you know what? Our manager's going to be able to work with these guys certain number of times every year. We're going to create, we're not in Europe. We're not playing in the best leagues, but we've got team spirit. We know each other. We get on. We're implementing a style of play that, for example, Brazil are never going to have, or they're going to struggle to have camps like this with the players that they've got. I mean, it's almost impossible. I mean, they've got the FIFA dates or nothing. So, it's just a little advantage, I think, that Mexico has moving forward.
My only worry is how many more times can Tata have these mini camps? Will Liga MX clubs continue to to allow these camps to happen? Will they continue to allow their players to leave? Because right now maybe it's a little bit easier to allow them at this point in the season too, because it's still the first half of the season. No one's really pushing for the playoffs right now just yet, and maybe I don't know down the line it's going to be a little bit more challenging. So that's my big worry, because I do agree with what you're saying there, Tom. But my worry is just how many more of these mini camps are Liga MX clubs really going to allow? I don't know. I'm just a little hesitant to.
I don't think there'll be that many.
The minute something goes wrong, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Herrera's already said that he doesn't like it.
Yeah, and there weren't any cup games this week either, and that was really rare. You usually have activity midweek as well. So maybe with some teams being eliminated, that could open up the possibility. But it's usually not the same teams that have players called up. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be something common because teams are going to be pushing for the Liguilla. You're going to have some other teams facing relegation maybe, and the cup games. You have CONCACAF coming up as well. And I don't know. It doesn't seem like something that will happen.
Really quick, and before we go to the next segment, were you guys surprised any players that came about, or you're excited to see, or anybody missing something that I was trying to look for maybe a story there of somebody that I mean I know it's Liga MX. I was glad to see Gallito, but is there anybody that comes to mind where you guys are like, okay, yeah, he deserves it, or anything controversial?
You know what's the best way to find that out? Just look on Twitter, like after they gave out like whenever they get like a call up, you just look at Twitter and people are like, oh, but why didn't he call up like Gallito or something? But I didn't see any of that this time. I think everyone was quite happy. I think everyone that should be there is there. I just think that somehow Jonathan Orozco was called up just because I don't know. I really don't think he's going to have a chance. I mean, they have 4 goalkeepers, and I really don't think it's a position that we're struggling in. No. So the fact that I think they could have avoided 4 goalkeepers, I would have just stayed with 3.
Yeah. The only thing I'd say is, though, I don't think there's big differences between those goalkeepers, you know what I mean? So I think Tata is basically thinking, and I think with Jonathan Orozco, the way he plays out from the back with his feet, that suits exactly Tata Martino's style. So I don't know. I think he probably thought, well, I'll bring him in, have a look. Jonathan Gonzalez isn't in any of the squads, which is strange. Yeah. I thought he might have been in the under-22 Olympic one. So I think that's one of the names that. And I've not heard anything. I mean, I know he's not played much this season. I can't think for 1 second that he's not been called in because he's not good enough. I think that there must be an issue because he'd definitely be in there, at least in the Olympic one. He's still old enough for the under-20. You know what I mean? It's not like it's not like he's not good enough. But yeah, apart from that, I think there's certain players that will be disappointed. Eric Aguirre, was Aguirre in the under-22s? I remember now.
But yeah, maybe. One.
But Aguirre, I thought
was with Jurado.
Yeah, I think Aguirre is one of the players that did all right under Tuca. Arteaga, Santos isn't playing that well, and I think that's one of the other themes. If you look at the players that are in that squad, the 24 names, almost all of them play regularly, and the ones that are left out aren't getting minutes in the teams. And it's one of the things Tata Martino said last week. He said, firstly, I'd prefer my players to be at in the best leagues. If not, but in second place, I need them to play. So he's basically saying, I don't want to, you can play for Bayern Munich, but if you're never playing, then I'd prefer you to basically come to Mexico and play. That's what I kind of took from that. So, and I think that squad does kind of show that. But yeah, apart from that, I'd say that, there are other players. I mean, Alan Pulido, can't be happy. Van Rankin at Chivas, Abella at Santos, Jorge Hernandez, Burrito. I'm sure he's not very happy. Javier Güemes. I mean, not names that you'd be like, wow, I can't believe
we're missing out.
but they are names that you kind of think, well, you look at some of the other names in there, Henry Martin, and you think Martin is in there, and then Pulido isn't. What's the thinking there? I mean, there are, you can look into it as well in terms of, the positions. It looks like there's not many kind of holding midfielders, like kind of traditional holding defensive-minded midfielders. Gaito's back, which obviously means that Martino doesn't seem to be as dedicated as Osorio in getting a kind of a guy, a holding midfielder who's good in the air. There are not many flying wingers. I think Aquino's in there. Who else? I can't remember the other one now.
Carlos
Salcedo's in there, yeah.
Yeah, Salcedo's in there.
Okay.
Layun's not in there. So, I don't know. But I mean, Martino, when he was at Paraguay, and he also did these kind of mini camps, he did kind of rotate the players, and he wants to have a look at them. You know what I mean? It's not kind of like make or break these camps. It's a chance for him to have a look at the players, chat to them, see the reaction to what he's trying to implement, and I'm sure we're going to see different names come in next time.
Yeah, I think the only other name that kind of stands out to me, but is Macias from León, a former Chivas player. I think he's doing all right this season, but for the most part, I'm not really disappointed with the list. And like Tom says, I mean, maybe we'll see some of those some more players going forward. And I mean, in the end, I don't think we should really read into it too much. It's a mini camp of all Liga MX players. It's not for a friendly. It's just for Martino just to kind of get to know them. So I don't think it's if a player is missing out on this camp, I don't think that it's suddenly the end of his national team career. I think it's just I don't know. I don't want to make too much of it, and I'm not really too bothered with the list either. Yeah.
There's enough games for everybody.
There's plenty. There's plenty.
That was the old.
We got CONCACAF Nations League later. So.
That was the old. Carlos. Sorry, I just kind of got that. Sorry. All right. There was a press conference on Thursday. Kind of took everybody by surprise 2 days before. Hey, Tata Martino is going to be in LA and downtown. Want to thank Jamie for going over there and spending $30 to park in downtown LA.
It was $30? Oh my god!
I think it was like $20. She told me, and I was like, I think so. Like that's the worst part.
Friendly. My God.
And I know they invited Pancho Villa's Army. Tata Martino really saying a lot. A lot of questions about the MLS players and who he's talked to. Questions about Giovanni and all that. But I mean, nothing there. He took the picture. Tata Martino. Any notable news that are coming out of that press conference?
I mean, I think a lot of the headlines were about the naturalized players, but I mean, he basically said, if I come into this job thinking about who I can, naturalize, then I'm going about it the wrong way. And it's, he's very good, Martino. He's just very kind of rational and direct in his answers. It's like, he's not closing the door on it either, because in 2 years' time, if there's a player that,
We've lost Tom. Did he get all
yellow?
Like
there seems to be kind of obsession with the naturalized players. For me, the most interesting thing was what he was saying about Salcedo. I think this is an issue, and I was surprised nobody asked about Layun as well. But the players coming back from Europe, like, what did he think about that? Because that's something that's changed from when he took the job to now. You know what I mean? And I'm just wondering, because he's got a history in MLS as well, so it's not like reading what he actually thinks about that. But he obviously said it's up to the players. He didn't kind of get angry about it. He's just being very diplomatic. But I think underneath, he can't be at all happy with Salcedo coming back. He just can't be. Anyway, we've talked about it before, but Salcedo's obviously making really good money at Tigres. He's very comfortable and stuff like that. But it's basically the other option is you do well in the Bundesliga when you go to the Premier League, and then you make big money, way more than you'd make at Tigres. So it's almost like instead of taking that double, doubling down on taking a risk. He's just kind of settled back into something that's going to be easy for him. I mean, Liga MX is going to be a pretty easy league for Carlos Salcedo. I mean, he's going to do well.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of circles back to what we were talking about earlier, about hoping that we could see more of those young players going to Europe, because you do see that older generation, and I'm not lumping Salcedo in there, but he just happens to be a part of the generation that's coming back. But you see Salcedo coming back, you see Fabian coming back, you see Layun coming back. So ideally, what you would have there is this wouldn't be too big of an issue if you had more players going to Europe, but that's currently not what's happening right now. So it's a little disappointing, and you keep your fingers crossed that maybe this summer you'll see some more transfers going to Europe. Obviously, a lot of variables have to work together in Liga MX for a player to make the move to Europe, but it is a little worrying. And like Tom said, I mean, I do wonder how Tata's feeling about it, because like Tom said, I mean, he was very diplomatic, whether it be about him talking about visiting Liga MX clubs or the Salcedo situation. He was very diplomatic, but I do wonder how he feels behind the scenes about these recent changes for the national team when it comes to those players coming back.
Good. Well, we'll see what other surprises the national team brings us with Tata Martino. Like I said, all of a sudden, mini camp, press conference. The next game is March 22nd and I believe 26th, Paraguay and Chile. Should be interesting.
I heard a rumor that on the 21st, Tom is going to buy everyone pizza somewhere in San Diego at some location. Yeah, we're all going to go to Dave & Buster's. Tom's going to buy pizza for
Dave
all
& Buster's at the over there in San Jose. They already know us.
Oh my god! I don't think we can go back there. I don't think we can go back there, can we?
They won't allow us to come back to the Dave & Buster's San Jose.
The record yards were bought there by three people. All right. Really quick. Well, before we go into the next one, really quick. Juan Carlos Osorio is going to make it to this March 22nd.
Yeah, he'll be there. I don't know. I mean, we talk a lot about how crazy stuff is in Mexico, but
it's pretty bad in Paraguay.
Yeah, I mean, this rumor came out, and basically this journalist said it, and I was doing some research on him, and he hated Tata Martino as well, and he kind of just basically, it seems like, well, this is the theory that I've seen online, is that he works for a TV station that is kind of owned by somebody who wants to be the president of the Paraguayan Federation. So he's kind of trying to destabilize. I spoke to Osorio, and basically he said it's completely false. He's like, you know what I'm like, basically saying,
"Hey, Tom,
why would he kind of give up? I mean, where's he going to go now in February? Colombia job's gone. You've got Copa America in the summer. I mean, who wouldn't want to play the Copa America in Brazil?
Yeah. No, it's funny that all of a sudden, renunció. It was like he left them, right? Like this, we got proof he left them, and he's just, and he, reporters. He's calling out reporters, and like, no, I'm still here. What is this? What kind of? That's crazy. But it's kind of funny that you say that.
And more important news than what just Tom said right there. I mapped it out, and it's a 6-minute drive from Dave & Buster's to where Mexico's going to play next month. So, Tom.
That's the most important thing we've heard on this podcast tonight.
Yep.
All right, guys. More serious.
But I mean, I'm pretty surprised that you have to look that up, seeing as though you're such a regular.
Yeah, you would assume, but the problem is, every time you go to Dave & Buster's, a lot of forgetfulness, so that's the issue. That's why I don't know exactly how many miles it is over there.
Do you have a D&B's reward card?
Actually, I'm joking about Dave & Buster's, but I do actually have some leftover, one of those little cards. I think it has 50 cents or something like that. So big time high roller over here.
The views.
My favorite place in the United States, Dave & Buster's.
The views that are expressed on this podcast are solely the whatever that.
Should I be worried?
Yes, Adriana, yes.
I got Dave & Buster's in Mexico City, Adriana.
There is one.
Oh, there is.
Oh my god!
Oh, wow.
How did I know about this?
It's over. It's time. Mexico games, Mexico City. Well, they'll never play there, so I don't think we'll ever get to go.
In 2.5 years, we'll have a game in Mexico.
2.5 years, yeah, we'll have. All right. In a more, I guess we have to cover this. It's kind of unfortunate that we have to even talk about this, but at the same time, it's like we kind of have to. Over the weekend, Mr. Caixinha said some very unfortunate comments. So I guess just one comment when a reporter was asking him about, what's happening with the women's league, Liga MX Femenil, possibly some teams not wanting to be a part of it, disappearing. And in the middle of that comment, Caixinha said, "No juego con faldas," which translates to "I don't play with skirts." There were some chuckles there, and he left. It made for, obviously, the Twitterverse, the internet, everyone just kind of surprised Gas with just how and why he thought that was a good idea. The people around him kind of laughing at it, and it goes to a major problem of kind of this sexism that's there. That people think it's okay, especially from a national coach when you're being filmed. I wanted to ask you guys. Obviously, there's people taking sides of it in whatever way, to each their own. But at the same time, I wanted to ask you, and Adriana, you're on the show, and I know you and Amy are going to have a special podcast for our football, specifically discussing this issue.
Yeah, we did.
Oh,
we
you
actually
did?
just recorded like an hour ago.
Okay. And we won't go into much detail because I definitely want everybody to take some time to listen to it. I know you guys recorded on Thursday and Friday, and then obviously this news came out, and I was in the chat, just kind of seeing on your reaction. But Adriana, to you, just kind of take us through it, especially because it's Caixinha, and as a woman, kind of looking at that with that type of comment, were you surprised by a person like in his statute to say something like that?
I guess I'm not surprised at this point. Like, there's so many things that happen with the league, especially with Cruz Azul. I mean, a team that hasn't won a single game this season. They lost 2 games because of illegal lineups. I'm not surprised of the comment. I'm surprised they didn't ask him to give a statement or the club. I mean, the league it has taken huge steps to improve and get better players and get more attention, and it's done really well in that situation. But when you get these kinds of comments, it really seems like you're taking 2 steps back instead of 1 step forward. So I don't mind if he doesn't have an opinion. I wouldn't mind if he says it's just not. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't care because it's not my squad. It just depends on someone else. It's a club decision, something like that. But if you can't say something that benefits the league, just don't say anything at all. Yeah. I mean, we've had situations like the Monarcas said that it was difficult to coach women because they were more indecisive on the field. The Monarcas came up and said, "We're so sorry for that. We know he shouldn't have said that." The coach came up and he gave an apology, and nothing had happened since regarding like comments like that. So when Caixinha is asked something like that, seeing as though it's Cruz Azul, it's one of the most popular teams in Liga MX, you know that there's dozens of cameras surrounding you. The least you can do is actually support the league. And if you can't say nothing that supports the league, just don't say anything at all. But definitely don't say something like that, because it just hurts the league, and it shows other fans that it's okay to say stuff like that, and it really isn't.
Yeah. No, I think it just represents kind of, machismo, no? I mean, basically. I mean, from Caixinha's point of view, I think he was asked right at the end of the press conference. He probably just wanted to go, and it's just an off-the-cuff remark like that. I don't think he's a sexist person. I don't know him, but you know what I mean. I just think he's made a mistake there, but the mistake kind of represents his kind of, outlook on the thing, if you know what I mean. That's his standard kind of take on it. But yeah, I mean, it's Cruz Azul as an institution. I think they're the only one that don't use the crest, the club's crest. And still, I think they play in Hidalgo, no?
Yeah,
play the games in Hidalgo.
There's just so many things wrong with that team. I think it's also the only team that doesn't have the players' last names on the back of their jerseys. Yeah. So there's tons to improve. So it wasn't really right. I mean, it's not right for anybody to say it, but especially when you look at how neglected that team has been. I mean, it just really wasn't a good idea to just say anything like that in case you're not aware of the situation.
Yeah. But I also think, though, I mean, Caixinha, this is the thing as well. You just come out and apologize. You know what I mean? Which I've not heard that he has done. You just come out in your next press conference and say, before I start, I just have to apologize. I made this mistake. It's not who I am, blah, 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 and you get on with it. You know what I mean? So I'm surprised that Well, I'm not really surprised, but someone in Cruz Azul, kind of a PR person, was like, okay, right, we've got this kind of issue now. We've got to deal with it. But I think just putting that to one side, the bigger issue is that other story about the Liga MX Femenil not having support from club owners. And that is the deeper, longer term kind of, that's massive. I mean, I remember speaking to a club owner about a year ago, a little over a year ago, no, a little less than a year ago. And, I asked and I said, is the Liga MX Femenil, it seems to be going really well. Do you think it's here to stay? In 5 years, are you confident that it's going to be still here? And he was basically just like, you can't guarantee that. I mean, this is Mexico. We don't, we can't look at 5 years time, and I think already there've been kind of not criticism, but there've been kind of issues from certain clubs, and we pretty much know which ones they are, because you see how they run the women's team, about forking out the money. Basically, it's a financial issue. They don't want to fork out the money to, as they see it, subsidize a women's team, whereas they will do for the under-20s men's, the under-17s men's, the under-15s men's, under-13 men's. But for one women's team, they won't do that. And I mean, I think they look at some of the other clubs, and I wrote a story last week about the parity, and I do think these kind of things factor into it. I think other clubs see Tigres, they see Monterrey, and they see them on the men's side spending, 16 million on a player, 18 million on a player. And then they go to the women's team and they're throwing money at the girls that play in Europe to come and bring them back. And they can do that because they've got all this money. And I think sometimes the other teams, they don't like that. They're getting kind of outspent. And I don't think they want to spend on the women's team because they want to focus on the men's team, because I think a lot of the Liga MX teams right now are struggling financially. I think they're struggling to get by. We've seen it at Chivas. We've seen Atlas, Rafa Marquez coming out. We've seen Pumas. I mean, these are traditional clubs, traditional Mexican first division clubs that are saying we're struggling, we can't compete. And I think that, I think it's an issue. But I don't know. I know I'm rambling here, but I go back right to the beginning, and it's like you throw out the idea, the league as kind of right. The league's happening now, and you don't have any kind of a plan. You know what I mean? It's just very typical in terms of like the short-term nature of the way a lot of people in Mexican football who make decisions kind of think. I mean, they're just throwing it down. It's like, okay, we're having a league now, and then it's like, okay, cool, all right. What are the rules? Who's going to play? And then you get like the Mexican American girls that they go to the preseason, they do the whole preseason, and then a few weeks before they're ready, they're fit, they're absolutely excited. They're going to play for Chivas, they're going to play for America. And then all of a sudden it's like, we've made a rule up, and you lot can't play now, which is an absolute disgrace. So, yeah, I mean, I think I've said it a number of times, but for me, it's been by far the most positive thing that's happened in the Mexican game over recent years. And to backtrack on it would be, I don't know, it'd just be a disaster, to be honest.
And we saw the success at the U17 level for El Tri's women. We saw that, and it's really, really unfortunate to hear this and to also hear about the Caixinha stuff, because it really felt like there was something building there after the success at U17 level. It's like, all right, cool. Here's the benchmark. Let's build off this. How can we build off this progress? And it's so unfortunate, obviously, with the Caixinha stuff, where it feels like that's a couple steps back when you hear that Liga MX clubs don't want to put the investment into this product, because it's I don't know, because there's an immense amount of potential there. You see that not only with what's on the field, but also in the stands too. You've seen some of those attendance numbers and how this very, very, very young league. I mean, it's only been around since 2017, but you look at the top attendance numbers as in the women's game, not only just in Mexico, but just all around the world, and you see just the amount of people that show up to these Liga MX Femenil matches, and it's just really unfortunate to be hearing all this recent news. So I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
It just goes back to the money that needs to be spent, and Tom hit it, right at the nail on the head. They rather spend the money on men's that's going to try to get them something, and it's becomes a burden for them to put this, money and try to get this in, and it goes back to, if you actually put the money in, then you're going to get the return.
But they're business people, right? Like they're not dumb. They know that like you can't just have immediate
True.
success after a year or two. You know, you have to put the investment. You have to be patient.
Yeah.
Just, I don't think people are patient. Yeah.
But that's where the teams that don't have a lot of money go, okay, we can put the investment on the men's team to try to get us, there, and then try to, obviously more money means better players. And I think that's where, either, and I think that's when they see the Tigres team, because Tigres teams automatically, boom, throw a bunch of money out there, and they can do it. But you see a team like Atlas, a team like Cruz Azul just go for it. If we have any money, it's going to go to our team so we can make them better.
Yeah.
Our men's teams.
They need to sort out the whole future of the league and what's going on with it as well. Even on the men's side, I mean, is it going to 20 teams? What's happening with relegation? I mean, because I feel like if you have a closed system, then at least everybody knows the rules. Like, and you're buying into it. And as one of the rules, you have to have a women's team, and that's kind of non-negotiable. You know what I mean? But I don't know. It kind of, I don't know what the future of the league is in that respect.
Like,
you know what I mean?
I don't worry about the league actually disappearing, because fortunately, FIFA has been really decisive regarding this. I mean, they're not allowing Copa Libertadores teams to play unless they have a women's team. So so for better or for worse, they're being being really strict about it. But yeah, it kind of baffles me how, like Cesar was saying, they just don't understand that, like the men's side, you need to invest in the product to get a result. I mean, you're not going to be rich by this. I mean, we all know that there's men's teams that you won't turn a buck out of it. It's something where you lose money. But you see teams like Tigres that's willing to put in the money, and then you have stadiums that are being filled. You see their TV rights are being bought. So it's just like the men's team. If you want to get to the Liguilla, if you want to avoid relegation, you have to invest in better players. You have to invest in infrastructure. So you have to do the same thing for the women's team. If you want to create a product, you have to believe in it. You have to invest in it and just be patient. It will turn out. I mean, you go to games and you really see also a different audience. It's a niche. It's an opportunity to make money out of people that maybe won't go to the men's games, or maybe they go to both. Maybe it's a different kind of audience. And they just don't see it that way because they don't want to, because it exists. I mean, you go to the games and you can actually see this happening.
Yeah, no, it's a cultural thing. I mean, it's not been the culture of this is happening and this is going to happen and this is the future hasn't been totally embraced. And Adriana, you've tweeted about it quite a lot, but they've got to be smarter about how they promote it as well. It's not good enough to just say, "Oh, we're not making money," or we're losing money here. What we're going to do? It's like, all right, you're losing money. We'll have a think. Think of ideas, like get them, especially them. I feel like there's not been enough support from the male players, in terms of I mean, they should be promoting it big time. I mean, some of these guys have got millions and millions of followers, and I feel like they could have a massive positive influence. And I know some of them go to the games and there are examples, but I mean, they should be tweeting about it. Like, "Oh, come down to the game. I'm going to be there." You know what I mean? There's so many things they could do. The joint ventures between the teams. I mean, and I just feel they've. That's one of the strengths of the league. I felt is that because you've got that brand awareness already. A Tigres, whatever Tigres team is never going to want to lose to Monterrey. Chivas is never going to want to lose to America. It doesn't matter what the category is, and it feeds into the women's game that as well. Yeah. But they've not. I don't feel like they've used that enough, and unless they get to the final, and then obviously it becomes a big thing, and they can sell the tickets and stuff. But I don't know. I mean, you got to be smart about it. You got to be kind of bright, and I don't know. I mean, you look at. I know I'm rambling again here, but you look at some of the Liga MX clubs, and you look at the front office. And I think who was it who said the other day about Leon and kind of. Is that you, Cesar?
Yeah, when I was chatting with Landon, and he said that they basically...
Landon.
Yeah, my good buddy Landon, he said they basically don't really have like a marketing department, because it's like, why do they need a marketing department? It's just like, if you live in Leon, you know about Leon, so what's the point of a marketing department? It's just like, all right.
Okay. No, I mean, sometimes I go on the, an MLS club's website.
And?
Oh, no.
And what, Tom? No.
Oh no, did I lose it?
Didn't.
Tom, yo. Tom, you go into MLS website and then what?
Right, and then obviously you look at the people who work at the club, and you got like obviously the coaching staff, the sporting director, president, blah blah blah. But then you've got all these people that like community outreach officer and like and like ticket hospitality, and you're like, what the hell are these jobs? And then I'm looking at the Mexican clubs that I know, I'm thinking,
you won't find anything to start off with. They don't have that information on their website.
They don't even have a
website.
What's Leon's website? Where's Leon's website?
Yeah, Leon doesn't even have a website. Oh God.
I did find their MySpace account.
but it's just it is pretty funny though. But anyways,
well, we'll see where it goes. Again, going back to the issue, unfortunately, we'll hopefully we see some type of apology, or at least I know there was a lot of people that kind of looked at it and just kind of went like, oh, just shake my head. And obviously others that said, you know, what's wrong with it or whatever. To each their own, I guess. But unfortunate that we continue to do those. I'll ask everybody that's listening to us, please take some time. Support the Our Football podcast. Adriana and also Amy are just recorded the show. It'll be up later on today. A little more on obviously this issue. Great episode on Friday that they recorded too. At the same time, any of the news that are coming from the national team, for example, the press conference on Friday, they recorded later on in the week, so we might not get to it. It might be too late before Monday, so putting a plug there to continue listening to that podcast. Adriana in Mexico City. You have Kari right now that's in León, and then Amy in Los Angeles. They have special guest players, past players that also come on, and some other great experts that are there. So continue to listen to Our Football podcast. That's on. All right, we will we'll go ahead and go into our next really quick. I'm looking at a comment that says here in Perth from Eldan, the Perth Glory women's team plays directly before the men's game. People show up and watch like 4 hours of football. I think Mexican clubs should do the same.
That's a good idea.
They did the same thing at the Manchester City Arsenal game. I think it was. They just had to like cross the street from one stadium to the other, and they had like a doubleheader this weekend. So that was pretty cool.
There you go. There you go. There you go. All right. Next time we're in Western Australia, we got to go say hi to Eldan the man over there in Perth.
We see you buying us tickets?
Yeah, let's go.
I already used all my Southwest gift cards. So.
I don't think Southwest flies to the...
Southwest will take me to Phoenix, and I'll be really confused. Like, wait, no, I got to go that way. What's going on here?
The bell tower over there in Plymouth House. All right. Let's jump into Liga MX. By the way, the fabulous Leon right here has made an appearance. I actually believe that there are teams actually going to do something this season, so we'll continue to do that. The minute that we lose by 6 goals, which I know is going to happen in the next 3, I'll put the Leon Fiera and all that. But let's talk about Liga MX, and we got 10 minutes for this. We went a little long on the other segments, but let's start. Jornada 5 review. Jornada 5. Sorry, I got the wrong rundown. There we go. Liga MX Jornada 6 review. América loses 3-0 to León. Chivas 3-3 Tigers. Necaxa, Monterrey. It's like people are scoring. You have Pizarro scoring. So what's the big storyline with Liga MX? And we'll go to you, Mr. Tom Marshall.
Main storyline is, I think, León beating America. No, I mean that was a massive win. I think America had gone 18 games in the league. Yeah. Without defeat, and León did it in some style. I mean, I think Nacho Ambriz over there he's imposed his style on the team, and I mean, they're looking good. I mean, they're looking dangerous. I think Joel Campbell has come in, and I don't know. I'm not saying he was amazing against America, but he looks like he's going to be really, really good. He's going to give him a lot. Angel Mena as well, obviously with his 2 goals, really well taken. JJ Macias. That was, he's looking like he's a Liga MX player now. I had some serious doubts going into the season. So, yeah, I mean, obviously with Boselli as well leaving, it was like, who's going to step up? But all of a sudden, León looking really good. But I think more than anything with León, it was the defense. I thought Cotta was excellent. The first time I watched Cotta in a León shirt and thought he actually wants to be there. You know what I mean? Because I think he left. I don't think he wanted to leave Chivas, and then he went back to Pachuca, and they just gave him away to the kind of sister club. So yeah, and I thought they defended with absolutely everything. I think you could see the kind of so they were just so decided that they weren't going to let a goal in. You know what I mean? They were throwing the bodies on the line. I mean, they just looked like a real team, and I think that was good going forward. And so yeah, I think that's probably the story. The Necaxa Chivas game was probably the best game. Yeah, it was crazy. Probably the best game of the season. It was. I mean, it wasn't in terms of quality. It wasn't that great, but I mean, So
it's somewhere tied with the Monterrey America one, isn't it? Like as crazy games and entertaining games go.
Yeah, it's not much in it.
No referee stories this weekend.
No, I mean, I think Morelia weren't very happy with the referee in their defeat to Pachuca, but I thought the use of VAR was a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there wasn't those big, because the last 2 weeks, basically, the main talking point has been, you know, that how the VAR's been misused, which isn't what you want to be talking about on a Monday morning. But yeah, I mean, I think there are certain other issues. I mean, for me, I think obviously Rafa Puente. I'm not sure if there's been a decision made yet about his future at Querétaro.
They were supposed to make a decision like 12 hours ago, and we still don't know anything.
Yeah, I mean, rumor is that Chepo de la Torre is gonna come back.
Chepo's back.
Chepo's back. I mean,
triumphant return. There we go.
I think Toluca and then Cristante, obviously the 1-1 draw on Sunday, but I think he's under a bit of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't expect Toluca to be down in 12th even after 6 games, but so yeah, I think that's another issue. And there's one more manager. Obviously, Chelis is back at Puebla. I think. I don't know how they
crying back at Puebla.
Crying. I mean,
after
I don't know.
The game.
I don't know. It's one of those hirings where I don't.
Yeah.
You look at what he's done. Yeah, like you look at what he's done in the last few jobs he's been at, and you just think,
we know
how have you got that job back?
It's the same old. You know,
Paula's gonna go. Chelis is gonna go be an analyst. Chelis is gonna go coach a small MLS club or a small club in the US. They're gonna hire Romano Mano, and then Mesa, and then Chelis,
and then repeat.
It's like you have that regurgitation of technicals, of coaches that, you know, they just...
Well, the thing is that the younger coaches still, I mean, you went to junior. Yeah, he made Lobos go to the first division, but then you had Leaño, was kind of messed up as well. Then you had Jaime Lozano, didn't have the best time. I mean, I hope he does a lot better in the national team than he did club-wise. But I can't think, I mean, I can't defend some of the younger coaches because they haven't done as well as we all hope they would. I mean, I would be really psyched to see really like younger coaches and not have to go back to the Sergio Buenos and Ruben Omar Romanos and stuff like that. But we haven't seen the results with younger coaches. I mean, Paco Palencia is kind of making it through with Lobos. Yeah. But yeah, I kind of expected Puente Jr. to do a lot better with Querétaro, despite having a really good run, I think, at Lobos.
Yeah, Leaño as well, no? Leaño, no?
Yeah.
12-year-old Leaño. How old is he? Everyone kept talking about, is he 12? Is he 13? Is he 14? Everybody. I think another result, too, that we got, I mean, if we're talking about Lobos, we got to talk about Monterrey, too. I mean, Layun made his debut. I mean, I know that was an easy opponent there for Rayados, but, I mean, those are the exact kind of results that Monterrey fans want to see. And I was pretty impressed, too, by, I know he wasn't given the call-up, but Jonathan Gonzalez actually had a pretty good game. And him and Carlos Rodriguez, the two of those guys, as like almost like these excellent distributors that are always kind of playing as defensive midfielders, I was very, very impressed by the two of them. And it's really cool to see a team that's clearly a powerhouse like Monterrey, but to have two young Mexican players just really like being the leading distributors for the team. That was definitely kind of cool to see. But I mean, obviously, Jonathan Gonzalez is yet to solidify a starting spot right there just yet from Monterrey. So it'll be interesting what happens going forward. But at the very least, Rodriguez, he does seem like a legitimate player, and I'm really excited to see if he could potentially do something with L3 this year.
Yeah, he looks
Pizarro
really...
back.
Hey?
How about Pizarro?
Pizarro, yeah, he looked good. Scored the goal, obviously.
Apparently, Chivas players have a good run once they leave Chivas. Because Orbelin scored. Macias scored.
Are we going to talk about Orbelin's dance? Orbelin's dance? That was the highlight of the weekend.
That was the highlight of the weekend. I mean, except Angel Sepulveda missing a penalty shot, which, oh my God. But despite that, it seems that the other Chivas players are doing quite well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know what to think about that.
No, I mean, I don't know. You just look at that Monterrey team now, and you had like Hurtado on the bench. You know,
It's a Monterrey thing. Tigres does the same thing. You look at the bench and you're like, really?
Ayun's on the bench. You know what I mean?
Salcedo's on the bench.
I mean, it's just a little bit scary, isn't it? Really. I mean, for you know, Santos on the bench.
They intimidate you when the roster comes up. You're like, oh, so that's the bench.
I mean, Mangione as well, who for me is possibly the best left back in the league, and you know, Gallardo's got the position now, but it's just like I don't know. It's yeah. I mean, I think the only position when I look at Monterrey, the only position I don't like is the goalkeeper. I've never been a big,
you don't like Paravero?
No, I've never been. I think he's got a mistake. He don't completely convince me.
Okay.
But don't get me wrong, he does have, you know, the odd good game and he played well at the weekend. But I don't know, when I look at that team and I think, where am I strengthening? I'm thinking number one spot is definitely Baravero. I mean, I think, I don't know, you know, Volpe, for example. I think if they could have got him in, then it would have, I don't know, it would have significantly improved that aspect. Because I don't know, I just think when you go in them big games, I don't fully trust him somehow.
Yeah.
So Ochoa to Monterrey, you heard it here.
Jurado.
Yeah, that guy's legit. Yeah.
He looked really good. I think technically, I like his technique. He looked kind of solid. He's not like kind of flapping. He's very confident. He gets his kind of body behind it.
I thought the same thing for his age. I didn't think if he felt mature. There's something about him that I was like, this guy's not that young. You know?
Yeah. The only thing I'd say is we've got to be careful. I mean, this kid played 10 games at first team level, and you know he did make a mistake for that second goal. I felt like his positioning wasn't great. So, but it's one of those. It's good to see though that a young goalkeeper like that is starting. The same with Godinho. You know what I mean? It's it's really good that I think I wrote in my piece today, but Mexico might not have the volume of young players playing, but it's like what Cesar was saying then with Carlos Rodriguez, and Jonathan Gonzalez. I mean, that's exciting. I mean, watching Jurado as well. It's not like there aren't players there. It's just you just got to hope that they all maximize their potential. And I honestly think that feeds into this squad that Tata's doing, where we started the old podcast. And it's great that those players are getting together, even if it is 3 times a year. And working together, getting to know each other. And I think if Mexico achieves something in Qatar in 2022, it's going to be because they've got a really, really strong team bond.
I was like 26. I thought you were going to say 26. All right, that's a long time from now. All right, really quick. Next week, Monterrey, Monarcas, Puebla, Pachuca, Tijuana, Veracruz, Cruz Azul, Santos Laguna, León, Toluca. Tigres take on Necaxa. Then you got the
Clásico
Tapatío, Pumas, Club América.
Another, the Clásico Capitalino.
Clásico Capitalino. I always get the Joven and the Capitalino mixed up, so I'm never going to say it again.
It's okay. I still say that it's Apertura. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out like a month from now.
I was like, at the beginning I was doing notes. I'm like, he really did Carlos Salcido? He called up Carlos Salcido? And then I was like... and my brain wasn't there. And then Lobos Buap Querétaro should be an interesting game. Dun dun dun. All right. Before we leave, guys, want to get your thoughts really quick. Philadelphia Union acquired the city of brotherly love, Mr. Marco Fabian de la Mora.
Marco Fabian, as we'll probably be hearing on commentary.
Marco Fabian. Did you see
Marco
the PH?
Fabian.
They like this is what I'm talking about. They have like a marketing person that thought, all right, it would be cool to put. You put Marco Fabian with a PH on it, and I'm like, spelled it, and then I'm like, oh, Philadelphia. I got it. Yeah, because Philadelphia. It was pretty cool, I thought. I know people keep saying I think it's a good move. I mean, from where he's at, I think he's going to score a lot of goals. I really do think he's going to score a lot of goals in this type of league. I can see him, his outside shot, the way he has. I think it's good for him. Would like for him to stay or keep going in obviously in Germany, but I'm all right. I kind of like it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, he's turning 30 in a few months. I think once again, when you're looking towards the future of the national team, he's not going to be a key figure for Mexico going forward, and he's had those injury problems. Unfortunately, things weren't working out in Germany. And with Frankfurt, he wasn't even making the game day roster. I mean, Salcedo at least was doing that, but just Fabian, it was just a little bit different for him. So I don't blame him. If I was Fabian, I'd be doing the same thing as well. So I hope for the best for him, and I'm looking forward to actually hopefully getting a chance to see him at least a couple times this season, because I'm going to try to go up and check out some LAFC and LA Galaxy games. So it's going to be interesting to see how well he does in Major League Soccer. But yeah, I don't blame him for making the move, and hopefully does pretty well for the Union. Although the Union aren't exactly a powerhouse in Major League Soccer, but I mean, we'll see how that goes.
There we go. Yeah, exciting to see. All right, guys, that is our end of our show. I want to thank all of you guys for joining here on the chat. Lots of stuff there on Twitter. I know that we had some problems with our iTunes account, so hang in there. We're trying to figure out a hosting site for us to do that, to not lose all of our content we already had. Our other hosting site kind of disappeared all of a sudden. So Amy is working really hard to get that. I want to thank her for live tweeting as always and producing the show, giving us topics to talk about and putting it together for us. So you don't see a lot of what she does when we're on the show, but everything we've discussed, she puts it together and our talking points. It's not just, we don't just come on here and just say whatever. There's a structure here. Thank you, Amy, for being on
to
there.
The structure.
We stay to the structure, or I get a text. Stay on schedule. Stay on time. Nah, just kidding. She never does that. She never does that. Thank you, Adriana, for rushing back and being a part of the show. Again, our football podcast. Definitely listen, guys. Cesar and Tom, good to see you guys there. And I want to say thank you to all. Continue to follow all of our pages there on Facebook and Twitter. And we're going to talk to you guys next week on another edition of Monday Night Football. We call it Mexican Soccer Show. Hasta la próxima.